everybody, and welcome to episode 201 of the Legacy Let's Plays series. Been busy between episodes. I did a lot of work on the channel. I did some upgrades to the offers for the memberships, so I'll leave a link up in the right-hand corner if you want to check those out. I have some pretty fun ways to engage with the channel, and it starts at 99 cents, so it's a pretty good deal. I also added some more Todd 13 merch, and they're pretty fun. If you like Minecraft and you want to represent, but you don't want to look like everybody else, I've got a couple of fun things, like this shirt here, you know, infinity bows don't last forever, you know, that's clever, right? Also, I've got this, armor stands are entities too, right? I mean, that's pretty clever. Last episode, we wrapped up our world tour, and you know, while we were wandering around, I noticed there were a few things that were sort of unfinished. We run up here to the map room. I can point out a couple of things that I remember. So, for example, back at the original base down here, we have a few different farms that could definitely benefit from the crafter block. We've got a bee farm that does like honey blocks and things like that, and I was never really truly satisfied with it because it involved a lot of manual labor. You know, I would have to get the honey bottles and then craft them up and all that, so it was always a lot of work, but adding a crafter block down there, that might be kind of a cool thing to do. You know, another thing is the sheep farm down here at this old base. It is broken. The item sorters or item filters have overflowed, and so it doesn't really do what it's supposed to do, and so we might go in and retrofit that or repurpose that. You know, the city, I would love to add more to that. The zoo, we're missing a couple of animals now, you know, specifically some of the new wolves and of course armadillos. And you know, there's a couple of things even in this area that we never really totally finished up. Specifically, when we look out in this direction, there is a gate that goes out to the outside world, and then right down there, there is a cave. And I did some lighting up in the cave once upon a time, but I thought it might be fun to kind of maybe add a little bit of a path and kind of clean up the entryway to this cave. And on the other side of the base, way over here, there is a gate that leads outside, but the hill behind this gate is so steep, there's really nowhere to go once you go through that gate. And so it might make some sense to do a tiny bit of terraforming and maybe a path or something so it's obvious how you're supposed to get out of that gate. So I think we're going to start with those two projects. And then another thing that got brought up by longtime viewer Michael was that we just crossed the 200 episode mark. And when I did 100 episodes, I did a big monument to commemorate it. And I didn't do a 200 monument. And you know, I've got some thoughts. I have an idea of where we should put it. And for some reason to me, 200 doesn't feel as big as 100. Now, obviously, 200 is twice as much as 100, but 100 is a pretty big milestone. 200 is just twice that. You know, like the next big milestone feels like 500 or 1,000 or something like that. I don't know. Numbers are weird when you try to measure milestones. But you know, 100 episodes is 100 episodes, and so we should probably do something to commemorate it. It's definitely not going to be as big as the original monument that we did for 100 episodes, but I think it'll be appropriate, and I think it will make sense as far as why we're doing it. Let's see. Oh, I do have a ton of stone, so I'm going to get a bunch of stone bricks, and we are going to do a little bit of terraforming. Okay, I've got a bunch of stone bricks. Let's see how this goes here. Right over here. Yeah, we've got this gate. Goes into our formal garden. And this little kind of path just peters out here. When we go a little bit further, you can see it kind of steps down. And there's this hole in the side of the mountain here, and it's pretty well lit up, the first part here, and then it starts to get dark down there. And it gets real scary and spooky real fast. So we're not going to worry about that right now. Mostly what we're worried about is that entryway. So I think I want there to be just sort of a little bit of a finish here. And then, like I was saying, maybe we could do a little bit of a path up the hill. I feel like that's pretty cool looking. It's nice and skinny still, but a little bit decorative. Added a lot of the mossy elements in there, and I think that looks nice. And then I just brought some of these down so that it tied into the entrance to the cave. Still not, like I said, finished in here or much thought to all of this yet, but that's okay. I'm mostly working on the exterior here. So let's next add some sort of path that ties into this to connect it to the base. And there we have it. Looks very, very rough. Lots of gravel, really kind of worn and broken up. Then we come down here, leads down into the cave. I love it. As we come back up, takes us into our gate. Now we have a nice little entryway into that cave. Now on the other side here, we have a very different problem. We have a gate that just goes really nowhere. There are like just these little stairs here and then dirt. Now, one thing to complicate it is we do have a big old pillar here, and we can't really move that without doing a bunch of extra work. But I think we can terraform this a little bit and make this a little bit more accessible. Got a little bit weird with this one here. I did a little bit of massaging because I wasn't very happy with how close the staircase was to this pillar. And so what I did is made it ever so slightly jog to the left. Just kind of roughed things up on the side here, and you can see it just goes a little bit off to the side. Kind of quirky, kind of ruinous, kind of weird. A couple torches on top. And then we've got the wild forest and the farms out here. But at least we can get out without having to climb or any of that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I want to turn our attention to the 200th episode monument. I have an idea, and like I was saying, it's a much, much smaller scale, but I think it's pretty meaningful and will be a nice addition to the area. And I want to actually put this next to the other monument. So when I was in Washington, D.C., I was really taken by how there was like a national mall where all of the monuments were kind of clustered together. And it was a really cool experience to get to see one thing after another. And so I want to do something similar where this area down here is going to be where all of the kind of special things are. So we've got our conservatory of flowers, we've got our stadium, we've got this historical building, and I think I want all of the monuments that we build to end up down here. This one here is very grand, and it is to commemorate our 100th episode, and it is 100 blocks tall, so from the base to the top, 100 blocks, and it is magnificent. It's fantastic. A very cool design, and I'm very pleased with it. 200 episodes, like I said, let's scale it down a little bit. It's not that 200 is not a landmark, but it's just not the same to me as 100. You know, I think it has something to do with the same phenomenon that, you know, as you get older, time seems to go faster. And, you know, if I was to show you these two piles of blocks and ask you which one has more, you could pretty quickly say, oh yeah, this one's got more. This one has 2, this one has 3. It's a difference of 1. But if I was to show you these two piles, it'll take you a lot longer to figure out which one has more in it. The one on the left has 9 blocks, the one on the right has 10 blocks. It's still only a difference of 1, but because it's a smaller portion of the whole, our brains are just not as quick to catch on. And life is very much the same way. When you are 10 years old, 1 year is a whole 10th of your life. But when you're 100 years old, a year is only 100th of your life. And so things seem to move faster because you've experienced so much more. So all that to say, 100 episodes felt like a massive landmark. The second is awesome, but it just doesn't feel quite as big. And so our monument, it's not going to be quite as big. You might totally disagree, and if you do, leave me a comment, tell me all about it. So I think the monument to commemorate 200 episodes is going to go in this space right here. There you have it. 200 blocks of quartz in 2 columns. So this one is 4 by 25 and that one's 4 by 25 for a total of 200. And I think it looks really good. It looks very formal. I put stairs on the bottom just so we kind of have like a pedestal, and it allows the light to spill out a little bit, which I think looks very cool. It's a really fantastic use of this space. Over here, we've got a little bit of a water feature and some flowers, but this was just sort of green space. And now we have this really attractive monument here. And compared to the other monument, as you can see, not nearly as tall, but it still has a really nice grandeur. It still stands out among the area, and I think it adds a little bit of height to this side of the road, which it desperately needed. So I'm really happy with it. I think it's a cool look. Put some carpet on top just so we don't get things spawning up there. And maybe we'll do a little bit more landscaping around here. I just put a little sign on the front that says commemorating 200 episodes, so we know what's going on there. And there it is, our monument for our second 100 episodes. And that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. Next episode, we'll head over to the Mushroom Island and get started on our amusement park. I have a little bit of an idea of how I want to lay things out, and I could use a lot of your ideas for attractions and rides that we can build in the amusement park. If you want to be like these folks and help support the channel, click join down below. Really helps me out, and it starts at 99 cents. And thanks for watching. I hope you had fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.